Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on how to complete the Lucille environmental data logs. The data logs form part of the information that will feed into your monthly report. I'm going to show you how to complete each of the individual data logs in this Excel workbook. The workbook contains several worksheets. Worksheets 1 and 2 is the cover page and instructions, while the remaining worksheets are the actual data logs which you will need to populate. The cover page will be used to record your CP specific information. The page has been designed to automatically transpose the details captured here into the individual data logs. As you can see, no details have been entered into any of the individual logs. As an example, we shall use CP382. The contractor is Samsung. And the reporting period will be September 2015. By doing this, I've automatically transposed the data to the individual logs. The instructions worksheet describes how to complete each of the data logs. For ease of reference, each set of instructions has been color-coded to match the worksheet and allocated a tab number in the left corner, which corresponds to the worksheet to which the instructions apply. Next, we shall be moving on, and I'll be showing you how to complete the hazmat storage inventory log. The hazmat inventory log shall be used to record all chemicals stored on site. It is advisable that the log be completed at the end of each month to ensure that the data reported in the monthly report is as accurate as possible. For the purpose of this video tutorial, we will be capturing data from a sample MSDS and inserting this into the table. First, we will need to insert the storage location. This will be followed by the manufacturer and product name. This information can be located from the MSDS. Next, we will need to indicate whether the MSDS is available. This can be done by selecting yes or no from the drop-down menu. We will then select the hazard classification of the chemical. This is based on the 9 classes of hazardous substances. You will see that there is a drop-down menu which indicates these 9 classes: explosives, gases, flammable liquids, flammable solids, oxidizers, toxic, radioactive, corrosive, and also miscellaneous. By looking at section 2 of the MSDS, we can determine the hazard classification of the substance. Here you can clearly see that this substance is classified as a flammable liquid or class 3 hazardous chemical substance. We will thus select flammable liquids from the drop-down menu. Next, we will need to select the physical state of the substance, whether it's solid, liquid, or gas. From our sample MSDS, you will know that this is a liquid chemical substance. Next, we need to indicate the container type. Is it glass, plastic bottle, metal can, metal drum, plastic drum, fiber paper container, gas cylinder, bag, or other? In this instance, the chemical is stored within a metal drum. Next, we need to indicate the unit of measurement: US gallons, UK gallons, liters, milliliters, or kilograms. Since this is a liquid, it is measured in liters. Next, we will need to indicate the volume or weight of each container. This refers to the volume or weight of a single unit of this chemical substance. In our example, we know that the chemical substance is in a metal drum with a total volume of 25 liters. Finally, we need to indicate the quantity of the chemical stored within the storage location. In this case, we will select the number 10. As you can see, the total quantity in storage will be automatically calculated in the total column. Upon completion of the log, you should end up with something looking like this. As you can see, all chemicals located in store A were listed first, followed by those located in store B. The log can also be used as an indicator to identify any missing MSDS. This should act as a prompt to allow me to find the missing document. Next, we will move on to the waste removal log. The waste removal log is intended for recording waste which was removed from your project site during the reporting month. The log is split into 2 tables: the waste classification table on the left, will allow you to enter data, while the waste classification conversion table on the right is locked for editing. First, we will focus on the waste classification table. You will see that there are several different categories of waste listed above: food waste, general waste, concrete, metal, timber, recycling, and several different categories of hazardous waste. Data shall only be entered into the waste classification in cubic meters. The reason for this is that the entered values will be converted to a figure in metric tons in the waste conversion table. We will, however, go into more detail about this a bit later. When completing the log, we shall populate the log from the information contained in the waste transfer note. As you can see, I have already entered some data. The waste transfer note is dated 6th of September 2015. From the transfer note, you can see that 7 cubic meters of food waste was removed from site. In addition to this, another 7 cubic meters of construction waste was also removed. However, when we examine the waste classification table, you will see that there is no category for construction waste. I will assume that this belongs under general waste. For this reason, it is important that when we complete the waste transfer note, the data is as accurate as possible. I would highly recommend that the waste type is clearly specified and compares to those listed in the waste classification log. In other words, when you remove general waste, please specify this on the waste transfer note. This is to avoid confusion going forward. When you look at the waste classification conversion table, you will see that data has automatically been added into this table. For each entry into the first table, a quantity in metric tons will be shown in the adjacent table. This quantity is derived by multiplying the entered value in cubic meters by the conversion factor applicable to that waste category. As an example, 28 cubic meters of timber waste disposed on the 4th of September is equivalent to 9.52 tons in the waste classification conversion table. We derive to this figure by multiplying the amount in cubic meters by the waste conversion factor. In this case, 28 multiplied by 0.34 is the equivalent of 9.52 tons. At the end of the month, the total volume of each waste type will be automatically calculated at the bottom of each waste category. These values will be inserted into the monthly report. Take note that you should only report the total in metric tons, which can be located in the last row of the waste classification conversion table. Next, I shall show you how to complete the hazardous waste storage inventory log. The log is intended for recording all hazardous waste held in storage on site. As this is a rolling log, each subsequent month will indicate the total quantity of waste held in storage on the last day of the reporting period. After completing the verification count of waste in storage, we shall complete the log. In the product, substance or waste type column, we shall indicate the specific product or substance name in the case of waste chemicals. Alternatively, we can use descriptive terms which will most accurately describe the waste. As you can see, some of the data has already been populated in the log. Under product, we have thinners, MSDS is available, and the unit of measurement has been selected from the drop-down menu. As you can see, 300 liters of thinners was held in storage during the month of July, while 400 was held during August. In September, after completing the count, we have a total of 500 liters of thinners. Basically, what this shows is that month on month, there was an increase of 100 liters of thinners held in storage. Let's continue. So, for gelatin paint, we shall insert a value of 80 liters. As you can see, there has been a steady increase in the volume of gelatin paint held in the waste storage area. In July, we had 20, plus an additional 20 in August, giving us 40, plus an additional 40 in September, giving us a total of 80 liters held in storage. For contaminated soil, we shall insert a value of 14 cubic meters. What this indicates is that there's been a steady decline in the volume held in storage. This will be an indicator that waste has been removed and disposed. Therefore, this should be reflected in the waste removal log. When you have completed the log, you should end up with something looking like this. As you can see, within the month of September, several new chemicals were added to the waste storage area, and these were simply added to the bottom of the list. Once again, keep in mind, any reduction in waste month on month should be included within your waste removal log, as this is an indicator that waste has been disposed off-site. Next, we'll be moving to the resource consumption log. The resource consumption log is intended for recording resource usage on site. The resource usage in this context refers to petrol, diesel, potable water, treated water, and water used for dust suppression. For completing this log, consumption records shall only be recorded in liters. The log is divided into two sections: fuel consumption, which includes petrol and diesel, and water consumption, which includes potable water, treated water, and water used for dust suppression. As you can see, some data has already been entered into this log. We will, however, be completing the diesel consumption for the month of September. The data for completing this log should be derived from delivery notes or dispensing registers, which you will receive from each of your delivery tankers. In most organizations, information from the fuel delivery note or dispensing register is compiled into a master register. We will be using such a register to complete our resource consumption log. From this spreadsheet, you can see the total volume of fuel dispensed to each piece of equipment on site. The total cumulative amount for resource or diesel usage per day is summed up in the bottom of each row. So for the 1st of September, 25,486 liters of diesel was used on site. It is this information which shall be transferred to your resource usage log. Upon completion of the log, you should end up with something looking like this. As you can see, the total usage for petrol was 16,057, while the total usage for diesel was 358,044 liters. A similar method will be followed to complete the water consumption log. Please be mindful that delivery notes for water is often captured in gallons. You will be required to convert the figure in gallons to an amount in liters, which should be inserted into the resource consumption log. Next, we'll be moving to the noise monitoring log. The noise monitoring log shall be used to record the data from noise monitoring conducted in the field. The log is divided into two separate tables. The first table shall be used for noise monitoring conducted during the day, while the second table shall be used for noise monitoring conducted during the night. Please note that any contractor doing night work shall be required to conduct monitoring during this period. This is to ensure that noise levels during the night are within the permissible limits as specified within the Lucille OCMP. In order to complete the log, you will need to specify the monitoring location. For multiple locations, it is advisable that each location is assigned a unique name for easier identification. You will need to specify the date of the monitoring, the time at which monitoring was conducted, the total duration for which monitoring was conducted. You will then need to indicate the maximum noise level as well as the minimum noise level as taken from the noise meter. You will also need to indicate any source of noise or special conditions. What this refers to is any condition or special circumstance which may have resulted in elevated noise level during the monitoring period. Upon completion of the log, you should end up with something looking like this. As you can see, all the monitoring locations were identified in the first column. The date for the various monitoring, the time at which monitoring was conducted, followed by the duration, the maximum noise level, and then also the minimum noise level. As discussed before, any source of noise or special condition which may have resulted in elevated levels should be indicated in the last column. As you can see from the example, on the 5th of September, an elevated reading of 78 decibels was recorded. This may most likely have been as a result of a rock breaker which was working on the adjacent site. For this reason, it is important that any contributory source be specified in this column, as this may explain possible deviation or exceedance from permissible limits. Next, we shall be moving to the dewatering log. The dewatering log is intended for recording all water quality results for samples collected from dewatering discharge monitoring points. The log shall be kept updated as results become available. When examining the log, you will see that the first row refers to the sampling location. The sampling location refers to the location where the water sample was collected. Where there are multiple sampling locations, you will need to complete an individual table for each sampling location. The sampling location name should be uniquely assigned to that location and should correlate with the sampling location details that are specified on the lab reports, as well as your monitoring location map. So, since you may have multiple sampling locations, you will see that by scrolling down on the log, additional tables are added below. This is to allow you to capture the data from the different sampling locations. The date row lists the days of each month. This cell is editable and the day and month should be changed at the start of each new month. The parameter column lists all applicable monitoring parameters as outlined in the Lucille OCMP. These include TSS, turbidity, odor, color, pH, COD, BOD, oil and grease, total coliform, and E. coli. The frequency column identifies the frequency of monitoring against each parameter, while the permissible limits column specifies the permissible limit for each of the monitoring parameters, as detailed in the Lucille OCMP. All three of these columns are locked for editing. Next, I shall show you how to complete the log. The log shall be completed as data becomes available. You will begin by inserting your sampling location. We'll call this discharge 1. You shall then insert the relevant results obtained from the monitoring lab reports or daily visual odor checks into the corresponding parameter row for the date on which the monitoring was conducted. Only numerical values shall be entered into the cell. The unit of measurement shall thus not be required. As discussed, data shall need to be taken from your lab results and inserted into the log. This is to ensure that the most accurate data is reported within the log. Let's begin by populating some data into the log. As you have seen, while populating the log, some cells were flagged in red. What this means is that for those parameters, the permissible limits have been exceeded. Upon completion of the log, you should end up with something looking like this. As discussed earlier, any exceedances above the permissible limit will automatically be flagged in red. As you can see, there are also some gaps within the log. This is most likely non-working days, such as Friday, upon which monitoring may not have been conducted. Also, keep in mind, for weekly monitoring, you should ensure that monitoring is done consistently at weekly intervals, as shown in the log. That concludes this video tutorial on how to complete the Lucille environmental data logs.